Welcome to the Mobility Device Securement video. For people with a mobility device, it is vital to remember how to correctly fasten securements in an accessible van or bus to mitigate the risk of a tip-over or a passenger injury. As a professional operator, you are responsible for the safe boarding, securement, transport, and deboarding of people who use mobility devices. Let's watch a video that gives samples of proper securement and improper securement. As you are servicing your customers, keep in mind that securing a passenger in their mobility device requires you to be in their personal space. Be very respectful when securing the lap and shoulder belts, and always ask for permission before you touch the mobility device and begin to move or secure it. There should be 2 securement tie-downs for both the front and rear of the chair that will help you utilize the 4-down and 3-around tie-down procedure. Also remember that not every mobility device that passengers use will be the same. However, all have similar characteristics and must be tied down and securely fastened. The 4-down, 3-around tie-down procedure indicates that you must place the wheelchair or scooter in a proper location in the vehicle where appropriate tie-downs can be anchored with brakes locked. The 4-down indicates that you must always ensure a full 4-point tie-down when securing the mobility device within the bus and strive for a 45-degree tie-down angle when possible. You will have two securement straps for both the front and the rear of the mobility device. Wheelchairs will be strapped down on all four corners with 4 securement straps. The 3-around refers to the seatbelt securement of the passengers while sitting in the chair. Effective securement of the passenger increases his or her safety. Both lap and shoulder belts are necessary for proper passenger safety. Make sure the belt is not twisted and the lower section rests comfortably across the hip area and the shoulder belt is set properly over the shoulder. Communicate every action beforehand. Sudden movements can be alarming for any customer. Speak clearly with a normal tone and speed unless the customer requests otherwise. If you are asked to repeat or write what you said, do so calmly and pleasantly. 3-wheel mobility devices and power scooters have other factors you will need to consider. As a professional operator, ask him or her to transfer to a seat and the empty scooter should be secured. However, in accordance with the ADA, if the passenger wishes to ride in the scooter, you must allow him or her to do so. Although this is permissible under the ADA, explain to the customer that it's not safe to do so, and you'll be happy to help assist them to the seat for their safety. If they ask to stay in their scooter, the 4-down, 3-around securement procedure should be used. Power scooters will be strapped down with 2 straps in the rear at a 45-degree angle, and the front will utilize a webbing loop with 2 straps to achieve a 4-point tie-down. Again, if they choose to stay in the mobility device, you will secure the passenger with a lap belt and shoulder harness. Here are the guidelines to follow for the 4-down, 3-around securement procedure. Allow the passenger to position themselves onto the securement block. Unless the area is too tight for them to maneuver, they are unable or ask for assistance. Center the mobility device between the floor attachments and set the brakes/power down the mobility device. Attach front and rear securement straps, 2 in the front and 2 in the rear. Attach the straps as high on the chair as possible, but no higher than the seat. The ideal angle for securement straps is 45 degrees out from the chair frame. If using a cam locking system, attach the front straps first to the solid junction of the wheelchair frame. Rear straps should be attached to the solid junction of the frame, just below the seat level on a basic wheelchair. Rear belts should be parallel with the rear wheels or slightly flared out. Front belts should flare out slightly for lateral stability. Route each strap in a straight line. Do not bend it around a wheel or other object. Do not attach the securement straps to the wheels or any removable parts of the device. For example, armrests or footrests. Do not attach securement straps to the folding cross brace of a standard wheelchair or armrest brackets. Use the webbing loop straps provided to you to secure devices where there is not an obvious place to set the hook around. Tighten all straps, but do not over-tighten. A ratchet-type tightener could easily bend a standard wheelchair frame. Always test the mobility device to be sure you cannot move it more than 2 inches in any direction. When in doubt, always contact dispatch or your supervisor. To limit the chance of being distracted while loading the passenger, limit your conversation with the passenger. You'll still need to be courteous and polite, but try to stay focused on proper securement of the mobility device. Here are a few tips to remember while securing a mobility device. Never stop to do something else. Stay focused and don't let your mind wander. Keep conversations to a minimum. Collect the fare before or after you secure the passenger. Do not get complacent. Be thorough. If you get distracted, start over. When in doubt, contact dispatch. If a passenger refuses to allow application of a restraint device, the driver shall record and document refusals by calling them into dispatch. Also, activate the DriveCam event recorder and verbally state the passenger's refusal of the restraint device. If you have any questions or are in doubt, contact dispatch. Remember, as the professional operator, never take a shortcut. If you become distracted, take a second and pause, and start the process over again from the top to ensure you went through the entire procedure. Do a quick check to ensure it is fastened appropriately. Before you get back in your driver's seat, double check that your passenger is secure. The safety of our passengers is the most critical aspect of our work, and the securing of wheelchairs and other mobility devices on our buses are some of the most important activities we perform on a daily basis. we need to make sure we are securing mobility devices and mitigating the risk of a passenger injury. Welcome to the Proper Vehicle Securement Awareness video. In this video, we will discuss what a rollaway is and how to prevent them in your vehicle. We're going to start first by reviewing a video of a news report of a bus rollaway. As you review, think about what could have been done to prevent this from happening and how missing a fundamental safety step could result in a catastrophic incident.
What was supposed to be a bathroom break for MTA bus driver Caleb Olivier turned into a life-threatening situation. He was literally crushed by his bus. MTA officials say it turns out Olivier didn't secure the brakes properly. In this surveillance video, you can see people get off that bus parked on Metropolitan Avenue in Ridgewood. Once the bus is cleared out, Olivier gets out but reaches back in to shut the door. The lights go out and the bus starts to roll backwards. Frantically, he tries to reopen the door. He doesn't stop there. He goes around to the passenger side door to pry it open, and that didn't work. You can see him get knocked right to the pavement. The bus ends up going across the street, crashing into the fence of this cemetery.
We were going there with heavy hearts thinking, not again.
Luis Marrero, a representative of the Transport Workers Union, says he and his colleagues feared they lost another co-worker. At last check, we were told Olivier is in critical but stable condition. He has a punctured lung, a broken arm, broken leg, and serious facial injuries.
He's lucky, he was just trying to do the right thing. And we, unfortunately, when we got to the hospital, he wasn't conscious.
We're told Olivier has been an MTA bus driver for 12 years. It just so happens the man who was first on the scene here was the driver who trained him. This is Annabelle Rivera. You can see him rush over to secure the bus and then run over to Olivier and call for help.
And he just kept telling him, stay with me, you're okay, and management is on the way, the ambulance is on the way.
This is not the first MTA bus we've seen rolling backwards. This is video from late June. That bus crashing into 10 cars and eventually a church. One person was hurt. Witnesses say the female driver told them she thought the bus was in neutral. MTA officials say it was her third day on the job.
What is a rollaway? A rollaway occurs when an operator fails to set the parking brake or put the vehicle in park and gets out of the vehicle. Failure to set the parking brake leaves the vehicle vulnerable to a rollaway. Another variation of a rollaway is when the engine is still running and the operator fails to set the parking brake and/or does not put the vehicle's transmission selector in park. Every vehicle is vulnerable to a rollaway, so you must be cautious and make sure it is secure before you exit. For example, stopping to get out of the bus for any reason outside of normal start and stopping operations. When this occurs, your mind may be distracted and not focused on what you need to do to keep the bus parked safely and preventing a rollaway. Here are some important tips to prevent rollaways. Never operate vehicle controls from outside of the bus. If you need to operate any vehicle controls, you should always do so when you are in control in the operator's seat. Always make sure your vehicle is secured if you have to get out of the driver's seat. Avoid any distractions and stay focused on what you're doing. Do not take shortcuts or be in a rush. Stay alert and be mindful of what you are doing. Remember, not properly securing your vehicle when stopped can be very dangerous and lead to property damage, injury, and can even be fatal. Take the time to stay alert and secure your vehicle before you exit. At MV Transportation, we are committed to a safe and injury-free environment so we can provide excellent customer service.
According to OSHA, Approximately 5.6 million workers in healthcare and other facilities are at risk of exposure to bloodborne pathogens such as HIV, hepatitis B, and hepatitis C. Employers are required to adhere to all OSHA standards and provide training to employees that could be exposed to bloodborne pathogens. Employees are required to take the bloodborne pathogen training and follow all procedures related to the handling of potentially infectious materials. OSHA's bloodborne pathogen standard prescribes safeguards to protect workers against the health hazards from exposure to blood and other potentially infectious materials, and to reduce their risk from this exposure. All employees who may face contact with blood and other potentially infectious materials while performing the duties of their job are covered by the bloodborne pathogens standard. Good Samaritan acts, such as assisting a coworker with a nosebleed, would not be considered occupational exposure. Exposure can occur as the result of a needle stick, a cut from a sharp object, or contact of mucous membranes, for example, the eye, nose, mouth, or broken skin with contaminated blood. Treat all human blood and body fluids as if they are infectious. Here are some examples of bloodborne pathogens that you should be familiar with. Hepatitis B is a disease that attacks the liver. The disease can be prevented by a hepatitis B vaccine. Symptoms include fatigue, stomach pain, nausea, loss of appetite, jaundice, and darkened urine, though sometimes the disease doesn't present any symptoms. Hepatitis C is also a disease that attacks the liver. However, the disease cannot be prevented by vaccine. Signs and symptoms of the disease include fatigue, weight loss, nausea, and depression. The majority of people don't have any symptoms. HIV is the virus that causes AIDS. When a person has HIV, it means that the HIV virus is in his or her body. Over 1 million people are living with HIV in the United States. When a person has AIDS, it means HIV has made it so the body cannot fight off infections. Since AIDS is an advanced form of an HIV infection, everyone who has AIDS also has HIV. Symptoms can include fever, chills, rash, night sweats, muscle aches, fatigue, and swollen lymph nodes. If you are exposed to potentially infectious materials, wash the exposed area with soap and water. Splash your nose, mouth, or skin with water. Irrigate your eyes with water or saline. Report the exposure to a supervisor. If another worker comes into contact with infectious materials, direct the worker to a healthcare professional immediately. Specialized clothing or equipment worn by an employee for protection against infectious materials must be properly cleaned, laundered, repaired, and disposed of at no cost to employees. Handle contaminated laundry as little as possible and use personal protective equipment. Laundry must be bagged or containerized at location where used, and must be placed and transported in labeled or color-coded containers. Contaminated work surfaces must be decontaminated with an appropriate disinfectant. Biohazard warning labels are required on containers of regulated waste, refrigerators and freezers containing blood and other potentially infectious materials, and other containers used to store, transport, or ship blood or other potentially infectious materials. In summary, OSHA's bloodborne pathogen standard prescribes safeguards to protect workers against the health hazards from exposure to blood and other potentially infectious materials, and to reduce their risk from this exposure. Implementation of this standard will help prevent hepatitis B cases and significantly reduce the risk of workers contracting AIDS, hepatitis C, or other bloodborne diseases.
It may feel like just another day at the office. But occasionally, life feels more like an action movie than reality. The authorities are working hard to protect you and to protect our public spaces. But sometimes bad people do bad things. Their motivations are different. The warning signs may vary, but the devastating effects are the same. And unfortunately, you need to be prepared for the worst. If you were ever to find yourself in the middle of an active shooter event, your survival may depend on whether or not you have a plan. The plan doesn't have to be complicated. There are 3 things you could do that make a difference. Run, hide, fight. First and foremost, if you can get out, do. Always try and escape or evacuate, even when others insist on staying. Encourage others to leave with you, but don't let them slow you down with indecision. Remember what's important, you, not your stuff. Leave your belongings behind and try to find a way to get out safely. Trying to get yourself out of harm's way needs to be your #1 priority. Once you are out of the line of fire, try to prevent others from walking into the danger zone and call 911. If you can't get out safely, you need to find a place to hide. Act quickly and quietly. Try to secure your hiding place the best you can. Turn out lights, and if possible, remember to lock doors. Silence your ringer and vibration mode on your cell phone. And if you can't find a safe room or closet, try to conceal yourself behind large objects that may protect you. Do your best to remain quiet and calm. As a last resort, if your life is at risk, whether you are alone or working together as a group, fight. Act with aggression. Improvise weapons. Disarm him. And commit to taking the shooter down, no matter what. Try to be aware of your environment. Always have an exit plan. Know that in an incident like this, victims are generally chosen randomly. The event is unpredictable and may evolve quickly. The first responders on the scene are not there to evacuate or tend to the injured. They are well trained and are there to stop the shooter. Your actions can make a difference for your safety and survival. Be aware and be prepared. And if you find yourself facing an active shooter, there are 3 key things you need to remember to survive. Run, hide, fight.